The atmosphere on the Today with Jenna and Friends set was electric from the start, with Blake Shelton stepping onto the stage in his trademark denim jacket, guitar slung over his shoulder. The audience erupted into applause, but behind the easy smile, there was a spark of tension already building. Jenna Bush Hager, seated at the host's table, greeted him warmly. But as soon as the conversation shifted from music to more personal topics, Blake's posture stiffened. At first, he deflected with jokes, but Jenna pressed harder on rumors about disagreements within the voice cast. Her tone was curious, but laced with a hint of provocation, and Blake's eyes narrowed slightly, a sign that something was about to boil over. The conversation took a sharp turn when Jenna brought up a recent charity event Blake had missed. "People are saying you skipped it because of a feud," she said, leaning forward. Blake chuckled dryly, clearly irritated. "That's not true at all, Jenna. I was in Oklahoma helping out on the ranch." But Jenna didn't let go, adding, "Some folks think it was personal." The audience murmured, sensing the tension rise. Blake's jaw tightened, his southern charm beginning to fade as he muttered, "You know, I didn't come here to play tabloid games." The crew behind the cameras exchanged nervous glances. Kelly Clarkson, who was sitting in as a guest co-host that day, tried to lighten the mood with a quick joke, but Blake wasn't in the mood for humor anymore. He looked at her and said, "Kelly, you know what it's like when people twist your words. I'm tired of it." Kelly nodded sympathetically, but Jenna jumped back in, pushing the point. "But Blake, if there's nothing to hide, why not just address it directly?" That was the match that lit the fire. Blake's smile disappeared completely, his voice low but sharp. "Because I don't owe anyone an explanation for how I spend my time." The audience grew quiet, unsure whether to clap or stay silent. Jenna, trying to keep control of the moment, laughed nervously and said, "Hey, we're just having a friendly chat." But Blake leaned back in his chair, clearly done with friendly. He muttered something under his breath that the microphones barely caught, and the energy in the room shifted from awkward to explosive. Kelly looked between them like a referee who'd lost control of the game. Then Jenna made the mistake of referencing Blake's marriage to Gwen Stefani. "Maybe Gwen had something to do with the decision," she said with a smirk. The audience gasped, knowing that Blake was notoriously private about his relationship. His eyes widened, and he leaned forward, his voice steady but cold. "Leave Gwen out of this." The silence that followed was heavy, the kind that makes everyone in the room hold their breath. Jenna, perhaps realizing she'd gone too far, tried to pivot, but Blake wasn't going to let it slide. "You've been pushing buttons since I walked in here," he said, pointing a finger toward the host's desk. "I've done enough interviews in my life to know when someone's looking for a headline, and I'm not going to be your headline today." His voice rose slightly, the Oklahoma drawl now carrying a razor edge. Kelly stepped in again, trying to calm him. "Blake, maybe we can just move on to talking about your new single," but he interrupted her. "No, Kelly, I'm done. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm enjoying this." The crew's hand signals became frantic behind the cameras, urging Jenna to back off, but the damage was already done. With a deep sigh, Blake pushed his chair back. The screech of the metal legs against the studio floor made the entire audience flinch. He stood, adjusted his jacket, and slung the guitar over his shoulder without looking at either Jenna or Kelly. The stunned crowd watched as he walked toward the backstage exit. Shaking his head, Jenna tried to recover the moment for the live broadcast. "Well, folks, that was unexpected," she said, forcing a smile. The audience gave a scattered, uneasy applause, but the energy in the studio was broken. Kelly sat frozen, her expression a mix of shock and disappointment. Clearly wishing she could rewind the last 10 minutes, backstage, cameras caught a glimpse of Blake talking animatedly to a producer, gesturing toward the stage. Later, clips of the walk-off flooded social media, with fans split between defending Blake's decision and criticizing his reaction. Today, with Jenna and Friends, found itself at the center of a viral storm. But one thing was certain, Shelton wouldn't be returning to that couch anytime soon. The clip of Blake storming off had already racked up millions of views across TikTok. With hashtags like #BlakeVs, Jenna, and #BlakeVs, Jenna, and #CountryWalkOff trending worldwide. Fans were split, some defended Blake's frustration, praising him for staying true to his roots, while others accused him of overreacting on live television. Talk show pundits and country music blogs dissected the exchange frame by frame, pointing out moments where Jenna's tone seemed teasing, and others where Blake's patience visibly wore thin. Back at his hotel, Blake sat in silence, watching the replay on a muted screen, his phone buzzing nonstop with texts from friends, fellow artists, and unavoidably Kelly Clarkson herself, asking if he was okay. Jenna, meanwhile, was huddled with producers reviewing the incident, debating whether to invite Blake back for a makeup segment or let the drama simmer. That night, both Blake and Jenna posted brief, carefully worded statements on social media, but neither addressed the other by name. Headlines were relentless. Blake Shelton bolts from live TV, and Jenna and friends turns into war of words. Country radio stations weighed in, with DJs replaying the argument and callers flooding the lines with their takes. Some insisted Blake should have stayed and defended his point instead of walking out, while others admired his no-nonsense exit. In Nashville, rumors swirled that Blake might channel the whole ordeal into a new song, one that could double as both a rebuttal and a hit single. Jenna, on her next live show, offered a brief diplomatic statement about agreeing to disagree and keeping things light. But her eyes told a different story, a mixture of irritation and lingering shock. As the media storm raged on, one thing became clear. The feud had transcended a single morning show spat. It had become a cultural talking point, a battle between two personalities who were both too big to back down. Whether they would ever share the same stage again remained a question everyone wanted answered. And until then, the walk-off would live on. Replayed endlessly in the court of public opinion, it started like any other cheerful morning on Today with Jenna and friends. But the air shifted the moment Blake Shelton took his seat on the couch. Jenna kicked off with her usual light banter, but soon steered the conversation into territory Blake clearly wasn't expecting, questioning his recent decision to step back from certain music projects and hinting it was a sign he'd lost his edge. Blake's eyes narrowed just enough for viewers to notice. He chuckled at first, trying to play along, but the laughter didn't reach his eyes. Jenna pressed again, tossing in a remark about his marriage to Gwen Stefani and whether life in Hollywood had changed the once gritty country boy. The audience laughed nervously, sensing the tension that was starting to boil beneath the surface. Blake leaned back, crossing his arms, his tone shifting from playful to pointed. "You know, Jenna, there's a line between asking questions and throwing shade," he said, locking eyes with her. Jenna smiled tightly, but instead of easing off, she teased, "Well, you did trade the farm life for California sunsets and celebrity parties, didn't you? That was the spark that lit the fire." Blake's jaw clenched, and he shot back. "And you traded real conversations for tabloid gossip. Guess we're both adapting, huh?" The studio audience erupted half in laughter, half in shock. Producers could be seen off-camera making frantic hand gestures, urging them to calm it down. But it was already too late. The tension escalated with each passing second. Jenna attempted to steer the conversation back to safer topics, but Blake wasn't playing along anymore. His responses became clipped, and his eyes stayed locked on her, refusing to soften. Then came the breaking point. Jenna jokingly asked if Gwen had to approve his wardrobe for the show. Blake stood up, shook his head with a half smirk, and said, "You know what? I came here to have fun. Guess that's not on the menu today." Without another word, he walked off the set, leaving Jenna frozen in her seat, microphone still in hand. The audience gasped, and the live feed cut abruptly to a commercial break. Social media exploded within minutes. Clips of the walk-off flooded TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram, with hashtags like #BlakeWalksOut and #GenevieveBlake trending before the show was even over. Fans debated fiercely, some cheering Blake for standing up for himself, others accusing him of being too thin. Country music forums lit up with threads dissecting the exchange, while late-night talk shows prepared their own comedic takes. Jenna's team released a short statement calling it a playful misunderstanding. But Blake's camp stayed silent, only fueling the speculation by evening. The clip had gone viral worldwide, picked up by entertainment outlets and even international news channels, Rumors swirled that producers were desperate to book a reunion episode to address the incident in his next single-appointed country anthem, about speaking your mind, no matter the cause.